But as we know, each week we welcome to our NfG stage one of our highly talented members or special guests with something designed to help you and your business. Our next guest's career had her immediately recognised as outstanding in her field, literally, as she studied at agricultural college. Temporarily hibernating from the world of food production, she returned to college to study marketing before blending it with her knowledge of food processing, recognising the importance of outstanding customer service as a way to differentiate from others. Highlighting the importance of demonstrating excellence in customer service, especially when things go wrong, she developed an outstanding reputation in her field, this field being as an expert. And those that know her recognise that she's highly knowledgeable and insightful, offer great support to those she works with, and is highly practical in her approach, an often underrated skill that I really admire. She began building her own business, Insight 6, back in 2005, helping a number of businesses to help really revolutionize their approach to customer experience, and made into a diamond in the intense pressure handling some of those very difficult situations with elegance. She's also been involved with various charitable activities and even volunteered for many years with the Sea Scouts. Here, determined not to leave you adrift, with a talk entitled How to Create a Customer Experience to Drive Sales, and reminding us why customer experience is not just a one department thing. We bring to you Judy Randon. Good morning, Judy.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Richard. I'm not sure how you found out so much about me. It's a bit worrying. So welcome everybody, and thank you very much to NfG for inviting me. I'm not sure I can live up to Richard's incredible introduction there, but I'll do my best. but anyway, so I thought I'd kick off by just highlighting something. Our talk today is going to be about culture, insight, and why customer experience matters. But I just wanted to share this first slide with you because I'm quite proud, because my football team, which is Norwich City at the bottom there, I've been promoted again this year to the Premiership, and also Manchester City, who were also promoted in 2019, were top of the Premiership, as some of you may know, those of you that follow football. And I find this a really interesting fact. I did a presentation on building a great team, and for the National Farm Attractions Network. And the reason I've highlighted this is because both of the managers are very focused on culture, which you may or may not know. But Pep Guardiola particularly is, and if you haven't read the book, The Barcelona Way, which is by Damien Hughes, it's a really good book I can recommend, Unlocking the DNA of a Winning Culture. And it mentions Pep a lot in there. And Daniel Fark, not so well known, but also an excellent coach, and also very, very focused on the culture. And those of you that know about Norwich City know that we don't have a lot of money, but what we have built is a great culture. You know, hats off to them for getting promoted in 2019, which actually then went back down to into 2020. They went back down a league, but actually they've gone back up this year, so we're very proud of them. But anyway, that was because it's, you know, it's all about the culture is basically what I'm trying to say. So there you are. So customer experience transformation, just a quick slide on what we do. We do all sorts of fun things, but we have sort of 6 steps really, which you can see there. So we do a lot of customer experience reviews, training development, customer journey mapping, real-time feedback, mentoring and coaching. So that just gives you a flavour of what we do. So why does it really matter, customer experience? What does it really mean? So Forbes describes it as the customer experience as the cumulative impact of multiple touch points over the course of a customer's interaction with an organisation. But for me, the customer experience is really the perception of how the company treats them. These perceptions affect their behaviours and build memories and feelings that will drive the loyalty, or their loyalty to your business. In other words, if they like you and continue to like you, they're going to do business with you and recommend you to others, hopefully. So you might say, so what? You know, because that's probably quite obvious to many people. So I like to break this down into sort of 3 areas really. So when we buy something or we make a purchase, whether it's a product or a service, we sort of go through 3 areas really. Did it functional? Did it work? You know, did it say what it should do on the tin? Was it convenient? You know, did it arrive on time? Was it easy to get it there? And the emotional connection. How did I feel when I made that purchase? And by far and away, the biggest driver to loyalty is the emotional connection of the customer experience. And if we're going to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars, these days, really to get the 4.5, 5-star ratings, you really need to make people feel pretty special. And so it's all about the emotional connection the customer experience is. Some other stats for you, so why it matters. So consumers with an emotional connection to a brand have a 306% higher lifetime value than those who do not feel connected. So that's really important and obviously a huge stat. And also, unsurprisingly, or maybe surprisingly to some people, 86% of consumers would pay more for a better experience. In fact, most would pay 20% more. And then 73% of companies with above average customer experience perform better financially than their competitors. So there's some really good stats on why customer experience matters. And so this is a quote by the famous Simon Sinek. I love all his work, and I expect many of you on the meeting here today know him as well. If you don't know him, there's loads on YouTube. He's brilliant. It's worth watching any of his videos. But customers will never love your company until the employees love it first. So there's a little key for you on who I think is the most important customer. So who do you consider is your most important customer? I often ask this question when I'm training a group, and I often ask them, who's your most important customer, a group of employees, and they very rarely consider themselves as the most important customer, but they are in fact the most important customer in a business. So the employee experience really, really matters, and aligning the employee experience with the customer experience is crucial. So customer experience, in my mind, is not a department, it's an attitude. And really, when I say it's an attitude, it's about our beliefs, and it's also about our culture and the way things the way things are done around here. So when we talk to businesses, we are often talking initially about the vision, the culture, the values of a business. And these things are, the culturalists amongst us qualify culture as the way of thinking and feeling and acting as a human group, which is a really nice way to think about culture, I always think. So where to start? I mean, when we talk about culture, often people get a bit confused, but, fundamentally, fostering a positive culture is in any company, as you can see here, is fundamental and should be driven by the values of that company. And you might wonder why I've got a picture there of anchors and buoys and the sea. So I'm just going to tell you a quick story about values. And the way to think about values, or a good way to think about values when you're deciding what they might be for your company, is to think about them as anchors at the bottom of the sea. So once you've set your values, whatever they might be, it could be trust, it could be care, it could be compassion, it could be quality, it could be efficiency, and then you build your words around those values. But values, think of them as anchors at the bottom of the sea, and on top of the sea, sometimes it gets a bit choppy, and that's okay. The choppiness is sometimes indicating change in the culture of the company. But that's okay, because as long as you're driven by the values and you remember that you come back to your core values and beliefs, the fact that we experience change as we go through life, what helps us really stay grounded to a company and to the values is what we really believe in and what the core values are. So when the mill pond is really still on top and the tension is really good and tight and secure, the company is usually, going quite well. But when it gets a bit choppy, sometimes that means there's change on the horizon, but that's not a bad thing either. But as long as you stick to your core values, and that's why it's important to set those in any business. So we often look at that when we first start working with businesses. To be really truly customer centric, we really need to be aligned with all of this. So Edgar Schein, he often said, or he did say, the only thing that of real importance that leaders do is to create and manage culture. So if you do not manage culture, it manages you, and you may not be aware of the extent at which this is happening. So every company has an emotional culture, but it's often suppressed. So you might not be aware of what that emotional culture is, you know. So it's really important to get that bit right. So leading in customer experience transformation. So what do we do here? So we talk about values, as I said, vision and culture. We talk about, is this clearly articulated in the DNA? Is there clear alignment between the customer experience and the employee experience? This is absolutely fundamental. So often, you know, I can say to a company, you know, say, what if you're, you know, what is your employee experience, or how would you rate yourselves? What is your employee experience? And they might say a 7, yet the CEO wants them to aspire to be a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Of course they do. You know, the managers want them to deliver a fantastic customer experience and get those great reviews. But if internally, the company is not, you know, if they're only delivering an average experience to their employees, there's no hope really. So it's really important to measure that. Is absolutely crucial, and we work a lot with getting that alignment correct. Experience drives engagement, and engagement drives profit, and according to Gallup, 21% more profit if you get that piece right. Again, Simon Sinek here, and this might just help, you know, understand a little bit further, but when people are financially invested, they want a return, which is probably your CEOs. But when people are emotionally invested, they want to contribute. But interestingly, more and more in company papers and board meetings, you know, the actual C-suite really want to understand this stuff about customer experience, because they're recognizing that the big boys are, you know, it does make a difference to them. They are, you know, as I said, 73% of them achieving financially and outperforming the laggards, basically. So it's really important stuff, and aligning that experience is crucial. So customer-led CX strategy. So we usually start with a cross-functional team, or suggest this, representing different departments. I really believe that customer experience is a cross-functional activity. It cannot be one department. You know, a lot of the marketing departments might be tasked with it, but actually marketing is almost different, because it's looking at the products and services and getting them to market. Is once they get to market, now what do your customers actually feel and think about, you know, them, and how was the experience? That's where we come in. So there's a sort of sweet spot there. But basically, I say it's a cross-functional activity because everybody in the company has a responsibility to deliver great service and a great experience. We don't want the person sitting in the accounts office to sort of be grumpy, and, you know, if a customer rings up and has a problem with an account or something, they want that to be, and they'll have an impression of your company. So it's really important for your, you know, for all your team to be fully on board and understand what their roles are, not just their tasks, and where they fit in. So, you know, gathering feedback is what we do, you know, gathering customer-led feedback from data-rich to insight-driven, so big to thick data. And when we talk about big and thick data, the big data is the stats, you know, we need that. It's important information. And often, you know, you hear about these big research products, big research projects that are run, and stats are good and information, but actually what the thick data is the storytelling. And that's the emotional stuff. And that's what we really need to get underneath. That's what we really need to understand, how people are feeling and thinking, because you only get one chance to make a great first impression, and everybody's, you know, a bad impression can be thousands of people's bad first impression. Thank you to the internet for that. So, you know, you've got to get this stuff right, really. And we work internally with a lot of our products, so we get we get those processes and things correct internally before it becomes a problem externally. So human-centered design is rooted in empathy, but put people and their experiences at the heart of the process is what I always advocate. You know, people have got so much to offer, so you need to listen to your teams, you know, you need to listen to your customers, and get that thick data and really understand what's going on in their heads to really shape actionable insight. You know, that's what we really want to get to the root of, how people feel. and appreciation, you know, just demonstrating even with your team that you appreciate them. Appreciation is the deepest principle of human nature. It's a really, really important one, and a really undervalued communication in all aspects, whether it's valuing your customers for their comments or whether it's valuing your team for their input. It's a really valuable way of talking and getting information from your teams. So that's me again, and just a quick recap on the stuff that we do. I think part of what I'm going to do is talk a bit about instant insight as one of my sort of offers here. If anybody's interested, we do a I think they might talk about it afterwards, but we do a 3-month trial for that. But also we do lots of other things, and I'm very happy to talk to anybody about customer experience if they want a one-to-one. I'll put my details in the chat. But what I would like to say and end with is that culture trumps strategy every day of the week. So although I could come to you and help you with strategy on customer experience, and I'm great, and I'm a great believer in measurement, you have to measure everything, otherwise it's all hopium, as I call it. You know, you must measure any good business practice. You must measure what you're doing, and customer experience is no different from measuring your, you know, your financials, etc. So, however, I would really like to emphasize that culture trumps strategy every day of the week. I mean, that is a Peter Drucker quote. Well, not every day of the week, that's mine. I think his is for breakfast, actually, but you get the picture. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope